What's going on, everybody? Sam here, United People's TV. It's another day. It's another live show. We're here live and direct. Thursday, was it? 12th of October. Slap bang in the middle of the international break. We're talking about, look, I'm going to call it Qatari nonsense because here we go again. I feel like that GTA meme. Oh, shit. Here we go again. Yes, I'm going to speak about what I would just consider nonsense. I mean, there is just some... It always happens in the international break, I suppose. The media are desperate for stories anyway, and they're like, okay, where can we find one? Oh, yeah. There's leaks. There's leaks. Hey, lads, you heard that? Alan Brazil said there's leaks in the United dressing room. All right, we've got a good story here. Let's run with that. So there's stories from Qatar saying that the takeover bid is nearly complete. All right, yeah, we'll run with that as well. So look, I'm going to speak about the nonsense that's going around, and I'm going to speak about some actual news. ESPN are reporting that Lindelof and Wan Bissaka are close to signing contract extensions. Not new contracts, contract extensions. Two different things, all right? So I'm going to speak about those two, and also a conversation around a Martial contract extension. We'll speak about that. What else we got? Internationals are back, are in action tonight. Scott McTominay. You know, Scotland, I knew Scotland having a good qualifying group for Euros, but I didn't know they had won 5 from 5. If they draw away at Spain, they qualify for Germany next year. Big up to them. And Scott McTominay, see what he's going to do. Look, we'll run through everything as we always do every single morning, but who's here from the member gang? Let's have a look. Good morning to you, Robert, Wendy, and Bully. Alex, you're there as well. Stu, we've got Wheezy. Paulie, you're there. Jason, we've got Andrew Wright, Chetan Saeed, Kenny, Ines, how you doing, man? Mo, we've got Kevin, Sean McGarrett, how you doing, man? And Andrew, who's here from Facebook. So Lisa Jensen, Dan McGann, how you doing, buddy? Steve Chuck Woody, maybe Wood Chuck Wood. Sorry, Matt Frost, John, Debbie, David, and there's plenty more of you there. Good morning to everybody. All right, can we just start by just taking a little step back here? Qatar is on the verge of completing the takeover of Manchester United. It's close. Again. Just like it was 3 months ago? 2 months ago? I have no idea. But yeah. It's look, the hysteria around it all now. I mean, I don't know what the Glazers are doing anymore. Honestly, it's gone past the point of any sort of logical reason. I think I lost logical reasoning when it comes to the takeover. Like, so long ago, man. I just realized that the Glazers genuinely don't have a logical mindset. They don't think rationally, which makes it all the more difficult to actually comprehend, I think is the best way to describe it. As a United fan, it's made it so much more difficult to comprehend because so many of us think logically. So many of us think rationally. But yeah, it's impossible. I tell you what, looks like the software might have updated here and upgraded because I think I can see on here without switching screens that Ricky, you've just gifted 5 memberships. And look, I can bring it up on screen now. Come on. That's worth a round of applause. Yes, Ricky, my man. That makes it so much easier for me. Big up to that. And big up to you, Ricky. Let's get it going out as well. I'm in a good mood. I don't know why I'm in a good mood. I'll tell you why I'm in a good mood. I'm off to the Royal Albert Hall tonight. Everyone likes going to the Royal Albert Hall. Yeah. International break, you get to do different things. I'm even getting to go to the NFL game this weekend. Don't really care much for NFL, but I think it'll be a cool event to do. Spurs Stadium. Going with a couple of mates. Right. You want to speak about nonsense? Let's go into the next bit of nonsense. You know who I'm going to look towards for my United news? I'm going to look towards Alan Brazil. Oh, yeah. A Man United player told someone I know, a friend of a sister of a friend, whose third cousin's uncle told me in a shop once. A Man United player, someone that I know well. Let me read this here. Let me go full screen. A Man United player told someone that I know well that they are not having the manager. Apparently, they're disgusted with the way he treated Ronaldo and Sancho worked hard. Honestly, if I was to crap my pants right now, you would find more value in there than you would by listening to TalkSport. It is crap. They've asked me on there like 3-4 times now. 3-4 the sun. Well, at least twice. I can't remember how many times. I've rejected every time. I do not want anything to do with that channel. I do not want anything to do with that platform. And yeah, okay, Alan. Alan Brazil's got the inside scoop. Yeah, mate. Of course he does. How is Alan? How is he constantly so red? Does anyone know? Like, it looks like his blood's angry at him constantly. Oh, look at that as well. Stu, I can bring this up as well. Now, this is cool actually, because I can give some like visual thank you at the same time as whipping the gong out. Stu's gifted 5 memberships. Thank you so much, man. But yeah, look, TalkSport. If you really want to, my God, people, this is what I mean about nonsense. Leaks everywhere. Qatari news is imminent. It's like, oh, is it the international break by any chance? Do you need some sort of... there we go. Hi guys. How you doing? Like clockwork. Like clockwork. So you think certain people would know and understand this yet? I'm Potato. How you doing, buddy? Not watched live in ages because of stupid work. Who invented being a grown-up? Hey, look. Adulting is boring, isn't it? It really is. David, how you saying that? When I first started watching your channel with that background on, I used to think you... What do you mean? I've built this again in my studio, man. Took a long time to get the exact thing. It took a long time to build that exactly as it is. But, you know, I love you all, so I took all the time to do it. But look, let's move on to talk about a few things. We're going to start with this Harry Maguire interview before I move on to the conversation around Lindelof and Wan Bissaka contract extensions. Yeah, Maguire. Look, I think this again. This feels like this happens most international breaks because Harry Maguire is a senior player, right? Harry Maguire is a senior player in the England team, so he's going to front interviews quite a lot of the time. And he was speaking about the move to West Ham that didn't work out. Him under Ten Hag, him not getting enough starts. And look, we'll run through what Harry Maguire had to say. But before I do, man, the man himself, garlic bread man, and I'm a potato. It's got to be a fight that we get at some point in life. But I tell you what, I'm a potato, proper icon of the channel, and still, I think, probably my favorite display photo on YouTube. I mean, how can you not like that? Gifting 20 memberships. Gifting 20. Gifting 20. That's 30 of you right now that should be joining the Discord, and 30 of you that are coming into the members only chat. Well, it's incredible. Thank you so much. The one thing I would say about Discord, and I'll say this now, I've said this a few times, I'm struggling with the amount of things that we're doing here at United People's TV, with all the live shows and then the afternoon shows and then the daily short videos on TikTok and Instagram. The building a whole new, honestly, the merch when it comes out, I hope that you're all going to be really fun, really happy, because it's so cool. Working on that in the background. I can't give the Discord enough attention. I want the Discord to be even better. If there's someone here who really feels that they've got great experience with Discord and they want to be a Discord leader, I think I need to bring in a leader to really help this Discord go to where, because it's great, but I know it can be better. And I need people to help make that happen. So if that can be you, slide into my DMs. Look, let's talk about Maguire interview, right? Let's run through what he said. This is what he said about game time at United this season. He goes, I'm not going to sit here all my life and play once a month. If it carries on, I'm sure myself and the club will sit down and have a chat about things. Oh, the podcast too. Yeah, the podcast as well. Yeah, don't forget about that. But I'm fully focused on fighting to try and win back my place at Man United. I mean, that was the case during the summer. Harry Maguire knew that was going to be the case. I'll be honest, with our injury crisis and the way we're currently playing, that system suited Maguire, the one against Brentford. It's not a system I want to see us playing that often. But he said that he's not going to sit here just on the bench and stay there the whole time. And he said this, look, it's not my decision as to whether I start the next game or not. If you look back on my last 15, 20 starts for the club and country, I would be happy to sit here and say I'm really happy with my performances. And we go into a little bit more detail here. My record under this manager speaks for itself. I haven't started as many games as I like, but my win percentage when I've played is ridiculously high. And I think there's going to be quite a few people that get not angry, but just like, oh, there you go. There's Harry Maguire talking about himself again, which happens quite a lot. And I kind of think it's a bit of like, at this point, or maybe it's always been, it's like self-preservation with Harry Maguire. Because there's so much criticism that happens, he has to really like drink his own Kool-Aid and drink the Kool-Aid of those around him. But my reaction to that, to reading that, and to reading quite a bit of that interview, kind of reminded me of something that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer said in his interview. Do you remember when, his interview with Andy Mitten, his first interview after he left United? Solskjaer said this. He was asked whether players threw him under the bus, and he goes, no, not really. But some weren't as good as their own perception of themselves. And he goes, I won't name names. And that was when he actually went on to describe that there were a couple of people who actually turned down the chance to be captain, which I don't think we ever really properly spoke about. But, Maguire was made captain of Manchester United. Sounds like Ollie asked a couple of other people first. They all said no. But that line there, some weren't as good as their own perceptions of themselves, is something that sort of that struck me when I read that. Yeah, it's just that's what I think it is. I think Harry Maguire has that really high perception of himself because he needs to protect himself away from the criticism which comes his way. And yeah, I'm not particularly sure that this is completely correct. If I was to sit, and I can't be asked, I'm not going to. But if I was to sit there and look at all 15, 20 of Harry Maguire's last starts for Manchester United for club and country, and I was to analyse them, I don't think that all of them are going to be positive. I suppose you could say that about most players. That's the line that will always, unfortunately, for Harry, stick in my head. He's got nothing to prove. He's got nothing. And he said that when he was captain of Manchester United, by the way. Got nothing to prove. And for me, like, part of my, don't know, I checked out a bit with Maguire whenever he said that. He's kind of drinking his own Kool-Aid, and I think he kind of has to at this point because of the criticism that comes against him. But yeah, that comment from Solskjaer really rings true. Some weren't as good as their own perceptions of themselves. I think Lingard was another one that absolutely fell into that category. Maguire, I think, is one of them too. I don't know any others off the top of my head, but definitely those two. Don't know. It's weird. Harry Maguire needs to be leaving. I don't know whether he'll leave in January. I mean, he could conceivably. So could Sancho conceivably. But you can only get rid of a player when there's actually a club that wants to buy him. And also remember this, right? This is what Harry Maguire said, which I don't know whether it's completely true or not. He said the actual opportunity to West Ham wasn't really agreed between both clubs and myself, so it wasn't just my chance to say yes and I'm going. West Ham submitted a £30 million bid. Manchester United accepted it. I'm pretty sure that's it being agreed between both clubs. No? Am I wrong? I don't know. I'm pretty sure that it was completely down to Harry Maguire and the situation over the contract, situation over the salary differences. That was the reason it fell through. Man United agreed a £30 million price with West Ham. It was to do with the payoff, wasn't it? The actual opportunity wasn't there because we didn't get far enough down the line with it. I don't know. pretty sure it was agreed between Manchester United and West Ham, though. And he's just said there that it wasn't really agreed. It was certainly agreed between the two clubs. It just wasn't agreed between players and clubs. Alex, is that what you've written there? V33, just one good game. Like, it's not that he's thick-headed. It's he comes out for an interview, and I suppose he's kind of asked to defend himself, really. Weird, strange. But you know what? We didn't actually touch on this when this was said the other day, but I thought this was quite an interesting little snippet from Christian Eriksen. Christian Eriksen, who, how many games has he started for Man United this season? Not many. Not many. Started an absolute ton for United last season. Remember, Eriksen last season was his performances up until, you probably say, the injury, right? When Andy Carroll just basically assaulted him on the pitch. Ever since then, Eriksen has lost. He's just lost a bit. I don't know whether it's a yard or whether it's a bit of confidence or whether it's just, I don't know, his body catching up with him having an injury that serious at that age. But Eriksen up until that point was mustard. Hardly started for United this season. And he said something quite sort of telling, really. He was speaking about it. He goes, look, my body feels good. I want to play every game. But if you've seen the games yourself, you might realise that Ten Hag plays with a different type of player. Eriksen there with the absolute self-awareness, Aaron Maguire, with the self-awareness that he may have been a starter last season because it worked in the double pivot. But Erik Ten Hag has switched the system this season. And all of a sudden, what worked for him last season isn't working for Ten Hag this season. And Ten Hag is making a different choice. And Ten Hag wants to play with a different player. Now, and that is just really solid self-awareness from Eriksen. Didn't seem angry with it. And look, there will be points in games this season when Eriksen starts. And we need him to start. And he's the right player to start. And those games will come along. Hey, Jack, my man, how you doing? Yeah, this is so much easier. I can keep it all on one screen now. I won't miss anything. Jack, my ledge. Jack Stewart, everyone's been dead generous today. Dead generous. And I always say, look, what you do, not only do you bring people in, but you help me reinvest back into the channel as well. I'm building the studio. It might take a little bit more time, but I'm building it. My man, thank you so much. Rob, you're saying it just shows how level-headed a guy Eriksen is. It's just, as I said, it's a little bit of self-awareness. Jonathan, yeah, I'm sure that Erik Ten Hag sort of pulls a player to one side and say, look, I mean, I think I've seen a lot of good man management from Erik Ten Hag. And like this is laughable. This idea that there's Man United players inside that dressing room that are, quote unquote, disgusted with the way that Erik Ten Hag treated Ronaldo. And if they are disgusted, it only highlights how wrong their mindset is. And I think the same thing goes with Jadon Sancho. It's yeah, man. As I said, it looks like his blood's trying to escape his body. But this is just the nonsense that comes in. The nonsense around the Qatari takeover. The nonsense around the leaks in the dressing room, which are apparently back. Here we go. It's the international break. Don't get sucked into this hysteria again, because the media does this every single... The media is incredible at dividing our fan base. Incredibly efficient at it. And they always have been. And if anybody's watched that Beckham documentary, again, you will realize why Manchester United... Why we're built like Manchester United. Why we have to sort of... We have to have a siege mentality. We have to. We have to put up our own defenses and our own fort, because everybody outside is just slinging to try and knock it down constantly. And that will never, ever change. Never change. Oh, man. Look at that. Bully, you just gifted a membership. And Alex, you gifted 5. Jeez. Ken Valentine saying, thank you very much, Ken. One big gong all there. We're very close to making that digital. Ken. Wait, Saeed, you're saying United against the world. It's how it used to be. And look, we just dropped a something I'm switching up now. If you can, follow us on Instagram or TikTok. The username's the same across both. Going to start doing more like story videos in short form. Kind of different to what we're doing here. I love telling stories. I'd love to do more of this on the actual main channel itself, but I need to bring in a new video editor to make that happen because they're labor-intensive videos. Really, really labor-intensive compared to the videos that I have the time to do on a day-to-day basis. I'd love to be able to tell stories more and do it in a really visually satisfying way. So yeah, that's a plan of something in the future. But I want to speak about a couple of contract extensions now. Wan Bissaka, Lindelof, and speak about Martial as well. All right, let's have a quick look. This is coming from ESPN. So the Manchester United are ready to trigger contract extensions for Wan Bissaka, Lindelof, and maybe Martial. Now, let's just have conversations around these three players, one at a time. The first thing I would say about these contract extensions is this. It's a contract extension. It's not a new contract. All right. The reason Man United are looking at contract extensions is because Wan Bissaka, Lindelof, and Martial, all their contracts expire in the summer, and therefore they're free agents. So if Man United have got the option to extend all their contracts by one more year, therefore giving them more time to sell them rather than losing for a free. Now, out of all three of these, I'm looking at Wan Bissaka. And honestly, I'm thinking not only am I fine with Wan Bissaka getting a 1-year contract extension, I think I'd be fine with Wan Bissaka entering contract talks for a new contract, a new long-term contract. And this is the thing about Dalot, right? If I'm looking at Wan Bissaka and Dalot, and I'm looking at Manchester United having two players in every position, I think Wan Bissaka, from a defensive standpoint, I'm not sure we are going to find anybody better in world football in sort of the isolated one-on-one defending than Wan Bissaka. I think he's literally as good as we're going to get. So if you need that style of right back, then you've got Wan Bissaka in the squad. I think if either of them are going to get upgraded, I think Dalot is probably going to be the one that gets upgraded. Truth be told, if I'm being completely ruthless in my thinking and my thought process, I think it's far more likely that Wan Bissaka stays at United in the long term than it does for Dalot to stay in the long term. I think if one of those two are going to be upgraded, I think it would probably be Dalot. That's my personal opinion on that. Let me see what you're saying down there. B33, you're speaking about Martial's extension. I'll speak about Martial next. Stephen, you're saying contract extension, yes, for Lindelof. Lindelof, right? I don't particularly think that Lindelof has done a massive amount wrong. But he's very much a passenger centre-back. Like you will not find many centre-backs less aggressive than Lindelof. Really kind of happy to sort of step back, be a passive defender, which, works on certain occasions. And he's good. Lindelof isn't as good with the ball at his feet in terms of the short passing. Long passing, he's got a good range on him. I'm looking at Lindelof and I'm thinking, I think we could probably upgrade him. But I'm also looking at our defense and I'm realizing that I'm probably going to be upgrading Maguire. Not probably. Maguire's going to be leaving before Lindelof leaves. Evans is going to be leaving before Lindelof leaves. And probably down to the fact that we can get a good price. Well, actually, I'll put him in the same category. Varane and Lindelof are probably the same thing. I understand the idea of giving Lindelof a 1-year contract extension, pushing that further down the line, and that maybe next summer we then have the ability to replace Lindelof with a good squad signing. I'm fine with Lindelof staying for one more year, But I don't think I want Lindelof to sign a new contract, new long-term contract. I think he's good for a contract extension, and then let's see what happens the year after. Let me see what you're saying down there. Nathan, you're saying, I don't think Lindelof as that good of a player. He's an okay squad player, says Rob. Good spare man, says Bully. Lindelof is a 7 out of 10. Okay. Lindelof is a good squad player, needs to be kept. Yeah, I think that's what I would put him down as. Aaron UG, gifted a membership. Thank you very much, dude. Yeah, for me, it's sort of the contract extension of 1 year for Lindelof just pushes the conversation down the line for a year. Because I don't think we're going to replace him this summer. We can probably replace him next summer. So let's just keep him as a squad player for 1 more year. I think that's fine. However, Martial. So, conversations in ESPN here saying that Manchester United are deciding what to do with Martial. Now, the only reason that we were unable to sell Martial this summer was because of said contract. I think he's on 250 grand a week, something like that. He's on a wedge. Pardon me. He's on a load of money. And because of that, nobody could afford to pay the wages that Martial wanted. I think there was one potentially viable offer from Saudi Arabia, but he wasn't interested in talking to him. He didn't want to go there. No. Just no. Just no. Right? I wanted Martial to be replaced this summer if our club had the ability and capability of doing it, and we didn't. Like, Martial could have and should have been moved on. Maguire could have and should have been moved on. And if the price was right, McTominay would have gone as well. But none of them did. And I don't think any of them are going to have a significant impact on our season. McTominay, you see what he did then. Actually, Maguire had a good performance against Brentford too. I think they will come in with performances here or there. But Martial, man, like, we cannot extend his contract. The only reason we extend, I suppose there's two reasons why we extend Martial's contract by 1 more year. It's not a new contract, it's extending it by 1 more year, right? Number one is Martial comes in this season and he proves everybody that his injury woes are behind him. Yeah, we'll believe that when I see it. And number two, the only other reason we would extend a contract is so we don't lose him on a free, because we don't want to repeat that mistake that we made with Pogba and other players too. And that's just, no, mate. Because the reason that we haven't been able to sell him is because of that contract. So let's not extend it. You're just going to have to accept the mistakes that you've made as a club. Martial should not have been given that level of contract and that length of contract at the time. Was it 2020? 2019? I think it was 2020, after that season where it was Rashford, Martial, and Greenwood, and they scored like nearly 70 goals between them. But boy, oh boy, right? He's only 27. I look at Martial now because, mate, he's been here since 9 years. He is 1 year off a bloody testimonial. That is madness. How in the world is that true? It signed in 2015, right, under Van Gaal. 2014? 2015. I swear he's 1 year off testimonial. We can't be that far off it. Jeez. Let me see what you're saying down here in the comments. Jonathan, you're saying extend his contract and we won't be able to get rid of him. His high wages. That's what I mean. That's what I just said. We need another younger centre forward, says Andy. It's better to play without a striker than to have Martial. No, come on, man. Like, when he came on against Bayern Munich, I was really surprised how good and sharp he looked. But that's because Martial is an extremely, extremely good footballer and still remains an extremely, extremely good footballer. But you just can't rely. Like, you can't build any plans around Martial. It is logistically impossible to plan anything around Martial. It's like, well, he might be there. Well, you just got to make contingency plans every time you're having a conversation around Martial. And you can't do that as a football club. You can't. And that's why Martial's got to go. And if he leaves, then I'm just going to be like, I think Martial will be one of the biggest what ifs that we'll ever have at the club. Phil Jones will probably be one of them right up there too, but Martial is just going to have to be known as a what if, man. What if the injuries never got in the way? And that Martial that burst into the scene as a teenager was the Martial that shone the whole way through. It's a real sad state of affairs, but I tell you what, do not give him a new contract. Not unless between now, suppose Martial has got between now and let's give it March, right? Go on, Tony. Have 5 months without an injury, score 15 goals, be ready and available in every single game, and then maybe United will look at the idea of a 1-year contract extension. But that should not be a conversation we're having now because it's a rhetorical question. He should be leaving. Absolutely. And I'll be... The whole reason we haven't been able to sell him is because of that bloody contract. Let them give him a new one. It's a bit mad. And look, and on the complete flip side is what you're seeing here with Højlund. I love Højlund so much already because he just... And this is what I did my short video on today. Go and check out on TikTok and Instagram, please. I'm working hard all across. I need you to watch them and enjoy them, not just watch them. But Højlund just... He symbolizes the type of signing I want my club to make more of. Some might say it's a risk spending that much money on a day. Yeah, of course it's a bloody risk. But when you do your work properly, when you do your job properly, and you genuinely profile a player so that they will fit into what the system is, and you've done background checks on his personality, background checks on his character, and you realize how good he is, then you minimize that risk and you get a foot up on anybody else who hasn't done that research. And that, I think, is what a Højlund is. Nobody, I think, expected him to have as much presence as he's got straight away. Like within the space of like 5-6 appearances now, I'm going to be pointing towards him pretty quickly when I say about examples that others should follow. And that's real testament to how well he's done when he's settled in. And look at this. Anyone see this goal he scored yesterday in Denmark training? I don't even know how that's possible. Like back heel into the ground. I don't know how he gets that much lift on it. Seriously, that's a ridiculous finish. I want to say it one more time in slow-mo. Powering that is unreal. But look, he speaks really well as well. That's one thing that's pleasantly surprised me too. Because I think I'm good enough to beat United. Otherwise, I wouldn't have gone to United. I'd still be at Atalanta. I understood that if I wasn't where I needed to be from, I'll get there eventually. I'm a short-term investment, but also a long-term one. Talk about like... I really appreciate open self... That's not right. I really appreciate kind of intelligent self-awareness from footballers. I genuinely think self-awareness is one of the most important things that you can have in life. Self-awareness of your own strengths so you can focus on them. Self-awareness of your own weaknesses so you can improve them. Self-awareness of when you're doing right and self-awareness of you're doing wrong, because if you can't do it, then you won't be able to help yourself. It's just, he speaks intelligently, he plays intelligently, and I'm just really liking the example he's setting, because I've been happy United since I arrived. I'm aware that the results are not being there, but I'm sure we will resume our progress when we return from the international break with a new energy. And I think the early success of Højlund only exacerbates the problems of Martial and his fitness and his energy levels. And yeah, there are two strikers on different ends of the spectrum. Man, I love Højlund, man. Let me see what you're saying in the comments. What other striker would you like United to sign? I'm still annoyed. I'll be honest. I'm still annoyed we didn't go after Marcus Thuram in the summer. I swear he's nailing him in for Inter. I swear we would have easily been able to get him if we went in there nice and early. But for some reason, we just didn't move for him. I don't get it. And I do think that wouldn't just be a striker for the sake of it. I actually think he would kind of suit the system as well. Maybe it's because he would have stood on Rashford's toes too much. I don't know. I'm Potato. I agree with that comment. He's got an old head on his shirt. I wouldn't say it's an old head, but he speaks wise. He speaks quite intelligently. And I'm telling you, a lot of that is due to self-awareness. He knows his own strengths and weaknesses. He knows where he is. He's a short-term investment. He's a long-term investment. Just a lot of what he says, he's obviously got good people around him as well. And that's massively important. I say that quite a lot of the time. It's not just down to the individual. It's down to do with the people that they have around them. What are we saying down here? Right. Let's quickly move on to internationals, right? Yay, international football. Does anybody actually enjoy international football? I cannot tell you, honestly, I cannot tell you the last time I sat there and watched a full international game. I might have accidentally turned England on. And that's about it. I like watching little highlights. I like watching goals and performances, sure, but just international football is just garbage outside of a tournament. Garbage. I tell you what, the players probably love it though, because they get little tiny holidays away from. Because for them, club football is their job, right? That's their office. Carrington is their office, so they probably love going back and meeting their compatriots. Sometimes going back to their home country as well. I think they love it, really. Well, maybe not love it because there's a lot of football. But these are the players who are in action, and these are the players who are in action tonight. We've got Onana, who'll be playing against Russia, or maybe not playing, don't know. Lindelof could be in action for Sweden. India could be in action for Turkey. McTominay could be in action for Scotland. That's definitely if you're going to watch a game tonight, that should be the game. Scotland away at Spain, and they only need a draw to qualify for Euro 2024. Having won 5 out of 5 and having already beaten Spain 2-0 at Hampden, 2 goals from McTominay. And then Pellistri may or may not play against Colombia. So yeah, if you're going to watch one game, I would say that one would probably be the one you should be watching. And look, I think McGinn's been speaking about McTominay. Very athletic, gets into the box, hits the ball harder than any player I've played with. Honestly, if somebody was to show me a compilation of the last 10 goals that Scott McTominay has scored in all competitions for club and country, honestly, his ball striking technique is really quite good. Really genuine. I remember the goals that he scored against. Was it Spain he scored against? Like the finish was like he was running onto it first. I think it was first time left-footed finish. Another one, he was like on the stretch with the right leg. 2 goals at United for his score for United at the weekend. One was like a touch out of the air on his right foot and a strike into the bottom corner. The other one was a header. He's got a real variety. And you know full well throughout the entire summer that I said of all the players who could be leaving, I'm not upset that McTominay's staying. Obviously, I then slated him I think it was again. Was it Brighton? Brighton when he came off the bench and he was just, for a man who plays with such intensity, it was like, what are you doing, McTominay? It didn't look like anything physical. It just looked like he wasn't in the game. And Bayern Munich, I think, as well. But then he comes off the bench and does that against Brentford. Scott McTominay was a striker when he was a younger player, right? It was Jose Mourinho who built the idea because he looked at him physically. He goes, well, you're like 6'3". Yeah, good. You can be defensive midfielder. And because McTominay wanted to get into the team and it was Mourinho, of course, he did everything that Mourinho asked of him. I think Mourinho made up a fake award, didn't he, for him? I swear he made up a brand new award to give it to Scott McTominay. That's how much he loved it. Or him. But he's never been a defensive midfielder. He's always been better like crashing into the opposition's box. Late arrivals into the box. Scott McTominay is extremely good at. Would not be surprised to see him score again tonight. Would genuinely not be surprised. What are you saying there? I need to play him further up like Scotland. The issue is that Scott McTominay, from a technical perspective, is a massive downgrade on Bruno or Mount or even Casemiro. And inside this system, these number 8, if we're going to play with 2 number 8s, they have to do a lot more than just crash into the opposition's box. And that's why McTominay, from a positional perspective, is not going to be starting many games for Manchester United. However, like an extremely, extremely good sub to bring on. You could put him in the same sort of category as Fellaini once upon a time. Everybody slated Fellaini, but Fellaini, if you used him right and you brought him on at the right moment in a game, he had the ability to change that game. And in the right environment, at the right moment, McTominay can be a game changer, depending on how a game is going. But yeah, wouldn't be surprised to see him score against Spain tonight. So if you're going to watch any game, I think you should watch Spain against Scotland. Last couple of minutes of the show, ladies and gents. You know what to do. Fire in your questions. Fire in your questions. Alex is saying, Sam, if you play 4-2-3-1, then McTominay could do the role what Scholes used to do behind Van Persie. You could do 4-2-3-1, but if you're doing 4-2-3-1, then I want that number 10 to be Bruno Fernandes. Simply put. Scott isn't much of a downgrade from Bruno. Come on, Ross. I'll pretend I didn't see that comment. All right. I'll pretend I didn't see that comment. Let's move on. Ten Hag is overcomplicating things. I understand why, because Arteta used to do that. I'm planning on doing a couple of tactical videos over this international break. I did a video yesterday, by the way, on this, where I ran through 4 centre-backs that Romano's linking us with, saying that we're scouting Inacio, Todibo, Anderson, Silva, and Tapsoba. Hardly anybody watched it. I thought it was quite an interesting video, running through the profiles of each of them. But yeah, today I might be focusing on tactics. I might also do a little fun video with some AI-generated examples of what Old Trafford could look like, and let's react to them. There's like 10, 15 different examples, and all of them are like, what? How is that good? It's cool. It's cool to look at. Let me see what you're saying down here in the comments then. Scott should be given a chance up front. Well, we only play one striker. If we were playing 2 strikers, you'd find out that's the position of Scott McTominay. Playing like a 4-4-2 with one supporting striker. That there is McTominay's position. Just there isn't really a position inside this current system for him. And what we're saying down here. Right. Here we go. I'm going to wrap this one up today. Thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in. All right. I apologize that the studio is not quite ready yet. I'm still trying to focus a lot of things because there's so much going on here. The lighting in here has changed. The camera's changed. Quite a few things I had all set up perfectly are now not set up quite as perfectly because I'm trying to build something at the same time. So just forgive me that the qualities, I'm a real perfectionist as well, so it's annoying me. So I promise I'm trying to sort it. Big up to everybody. Thank you all for your comments, all for your gifted memberships. Legends, all of you. I'll be here tomorrow, as I always am. And I'll be here at lunchtime today with another video. Take it easy.